This is a quick tutorial on how to sew a short sleeve cuff. The cuff I'm sewing is a one-piece overlapped cuff. I will make tutorial on two-piece barrel cuff as well. This is a very easy method, without basting or anything too complicated. To me, this is the most easiest method I ever tried for making cuffs. To start with the cuff, we need sleeve piece with a placket, cuff piece and light fusible interfacing. First, apply interfacing to the upper half of the cuff. Place the interfacing adhesive side down on the wrong side of the fabric. Use an iron on a warm setting and press one section for about 15 seconds. Use pressing instead of gliding motions. It is recommended to allow the fabric to rest for about 15 minutes after interfacing was fused. Then fold the cuff in half, right side to right side, and do a straight stitch 5 mm from the edge on both short ends of the cuff. As you can see, I already have both seam lines. Turn the cuff to the right side push the corners out to the points and put the cuff aside for now. Next, I need to sew a sleeve side seam. When I sew shorts, I like to use a French seam. Place the fabric wrong side up. Fold the sleeve wrong side to the wrong side and align the edges. Then do a straight stitch 5 mm from the edge. Use back stitching at the beginning and end of your seam. Press the cuff and then trim the seam allowance to 3 or 4 mm. Trim any loose threads on the fabric cut edges. This step is important. If you leave any loose threads, then it may peek from the seam to the face of the garment later on, and it will be hard to remove it. Next, press the seam flat and then press the seam open. Open the seam like this and press it. If you skip this step, it will be difficult to fold the fabric for the next seam. Like this. Next, Turn the sleeve wrong side out and fold the sleeve on the seam you just made. Ensure that the fabric is folded as close as possible to the seam. Now the fabric will be right sides together, and press. Do a straight stitch 5 mm from the edge. Use back stitching at the beginning and end of your seam to secure the seam. Press the seam. First, press it flat. And then press the seam on the side. Now the cuff can be attached to the sleeve. Mark the inner side of the cuff. My undercuff is with fused interfacing. However, it is recommended to apply interfacing to the overlap of the cuff. So don't be confused. This is just the way I prefer doing it. Make 2 or 3 marks on notches on the cuff on both sides. This is wrong side of the sleeve. Place the inner side of the cuff to the wrong side of the sleeve. Start with a little placket. Inner side to the wrong side of the sleeve. The placket edge should be placed end to end to the cuff side seam. Like this, end to end. Align the edges and use pins to secure the placement. Five to 8 centimeters along the sleeve edge. Don't go too far. I have 8 centimeters. I've done 8 centimeters from the placket. Then take the top side of the cuff, the upper side of the cuff, and cover the sleeve edge as shown. Make sure that your placket doesn't go anywhere and stays in place. Cover like this. It should look like a sandwich with the sleeve edge in between. Align the edges and marks. The marks you made before should align, should match. Do a straight stitch 1 centimeter from the edge and 5 to 8 centimeters long. Back stitch to secure the seam at the beginning and at the end of your seam. Next, we need to stitch together only upper cuff and sleeve. Don't touch inner cuff. Align the edges of your sleeve and upper cuff. First, I align my pleat to the cuff side seam, again end to end. Remember, we are working with upper cuff and the sleeve. Align the pleat end to the cuff seam, side seam. Then make pleats about 2 centimeters away from the pleat. You can make 1 or 2 pleats, it's up to you. I decided to make 2 narrow pleats. Align the edges and do a straight stitch, starting exactly where we stopped stitching. Stitching sleeve and upper cuff. We start stitching exactly where we stopped last time. Here, I don't use backstitching to secure the seam. I will make knots once I finish the seam. And continue stitching 1 centimeter from the edge. stitch to the end and do a couple of stitches back and forward to secure the seam. Don't forget to secure your seam and tie knots. And next we need to place inner lap piece on top This is our inner piece, and we place it on top like this. To make a sandwich like we did before, just showing you again that we take our inner piece, inner lap, and place it on top. Align the marks and pin it. Make sure your placket doesn't move and stay in place, and do a straight stitch in the seam you already made, so seam in seam. Use back stitching to secure the seam at the beginning and at the end of your seam. Continue stitching and leave a small opening for turning the cuff out. Next, press the seam and trim the bulk from the seams. I already trim it. Turn the cuff through to the right side. Like this. press, make sure that unstitched cuff piece is folded evenly and its folded edge covers the seam by 1 or 2 millimeters. Yeah, this is my unstitched area. It should go over the seam by 1 or 2 millimeters. I use fabric glue just to secure the position, the placement of my unstitched area. You can pin it in place, it's up to you. And do a top stitch about 1 or 2 millimeters from the edge along the cuff sides. Like this, along the sides. You don't have to do a top stitching. You can use hand stitching to secure that unstitched area. And that's it. One or 2 millimeters from the edge, along all 4 sides. Then give your cuff a final press. Add buttonholes to the upper cuff, attach buttons to the under cuff. And your sleeve is done. Thank you for watching and leave your comments below the video.